Gemara Megillah, Daf Daled Amud Aleph. Who is obligated to read the Megillah? So, the Gemara here, and as well as in Erechin, Daled Amud Aleph. From the top, it would be 10 lines from the top, 11 lines from the top. The first word on the line is Meikara. So it says there, Meikara Shema Minav. Amar Rabbi Shua ben Levi, Nashim Chayavais b'Mikra Megillah. So it says, Nashim are obligated, ladies are obligated in Mikra Megillah. Sha'af hein hayu ba'isa anes. Because they were also part of the miracle. The Gemara in Megillah, also, the Gemara in Erechin also says a similar idea. The Gemara in Megillah there says, Hakol chayavin b'Mikra Megillah. Hakol, the Gemara says Hakol is coming to include who? To include ladies. So, let's just see the Tosefta in the back for 1 minute. Turn. The Tosefta is always the last thing in this Masechta. Before you go to the next Masechta, the Tosefta is the last thing. That's how you remember it. So if you see the Tosefta, right after the Mordechai, after the Ran. Right after that. Right. So here the Tosefta says something very interesting. When he's explaining, you got it? Beautiful. Page, second side. Perek Beis, Halacha Daled. So here it also states next. It's further. So look carefully, and let's see carefully how it says. Hakol Chayavin B'Kriyas Megillah. See, here, let me get it to you. Then you can take this one. So what do you see? You see any hints over there? To ask Eddie how the Tosefta holds. Hakol chayavim b'kriyas megillah. You see the halacha daled? Kohanim, Leviim, Yisraelim, Avodim, everyone. Kohen, Levi, so everyone's chayav in Mikra Megillah. Avodim mishachorim, freed slaves, right? Once they're freed, they become like an isha. They become obligated to mitzvahs. Chalalin, a chalal, a kohen who became profaned, a nasin.
Once they're free, they're chayav in all mitzvahs.
Yes. Okay. So that would be a regular.
Before they free, they're chayav like nashim.
Right. Okay. So this will be a regular Jew. Avodim mishachorim, right? Chalalim, a chalal, that's a profane kohen, a nasin, a mamzer, all these types of. A mamzer, right? That's right. An illegal baby. A saris adam, saris chama, someone who can't have a child, or however that came about. Pitzu adaka, kros shifcha. All these people that have different mumim, blemish on them, and kulan chayavim. All these people are obligated in Mikra Megillah. Umaytina sarabim. They're so obligated that they could lane and they could help everyone fulfill their obligation. Androgynous, but an androgynous is mighty minoi, v'lo yasheina minoi. Androgynous, he is someone who has both organs, so we don't know what he is. He has, right, it looks like it could be a man, could be a lady. So what does he do? Could he lane the Megillah for everyone? Such a person, an androgynous. So that, the Gemara says, come. The Gemara says an androgynous, he can only lane for minoi, for a fellow androgynous. For a fellow androgynous he can lane. But he cannot lane for anyone else. And also a tumtum. A tumtum is someone who it's covered over. We don't know if he's a man or a lady. So it's like a skin which blocks it, so we don't know if he's a man or a lady. So you always have to know, you'll see the chinuch goes through every mitzvah, the mitzvah's chinuch, every mitzvah you always have to say who's obligated, anashim, androgynous, and tumtum. So tumtum is someone who we don't know if he's a man or a lady. So what is it in on him? So tumtum, right, let's go first androgynous. Androgynous, he could only read the Megillah for a fellow androgynous. He can't read the Megillah for a man. He can't read the Megillah for a lady. And also a tumtum. Someone who we don't know who he is covered over. He cannot read the Megillah he can't even read it for a fellow tumtum. Why? Because what's the difference? Why can't he read it for another tumtum? The answer is because he's different than an androgynous. Androgynous, we know who he is. We know what he is, what that person is. We don't know if that person, we should look at him like a man or a lady. So therefore whatever he is, he could read it for a fellow androgynous. But he can't read it for, it could be we would decide that we would give him a rule like a man, Could be we'll give him a din like a lady. So if you give him a din like a lady, he can't read it for everyone, because that means because a lady. Now it seems here that we're getting into a question. It seems like a lady would be one level lower, because why is an androgynous in a tumtum? Right? The Gemara is saying a tumtum also. A tumtum can't read it either. The Gemara says tumtum. Tosefta says tumtum. Tumtum can't be moitzi anyone. Can't read it for anyone. So the question is here. Why is an androgynous and a tumtum not allowed to read the Megillah for anyone, for a different type, for a lady, for a man? Why can't you read it for a man? If a lady, we're reading here, if a lady is obligated, it says here, Rabbi Shua ben Levi says, a lady is obligated in Megillah. Right? That was what we started the Gemara here, and the Gemara in Erech, and Hakol Chayovin be Mikra Megillah.
Trying to determine if a woman can be, let's say, a man.
Yes.
Can't be.
Why not?
We haven't looked at it.
Can't read from the Torah, so how could she read from the Megillah?
First of all, we have to go into why she can't read from the Torah. But what is this? Is a different obligation. Here's the mitzvah is Mikra Megillah. Could be this is a different obligation. Even if we would have to investigate reading from the Torah.
She can sing the Megillah. That's
She can't sing it. Okay, so she'll have to read it with a straight voice.
No intonation.
But let's say she would read it straight. Let's say you wouldn't have a problem of sneeze. So then maybe she could read the Megillah.
Yeah, so from both the androgynous and the tumtum case, I think you can see that a woman can't be motzi a man. Because if a woman could be motzi a man, we wouldn't care, like let's say the tumtum case where we're in the supak. We don't know what the status, we really don't know if it's a man or a woman. That's the problem with, that's why a tumtum can't lane for another tumtum. Because it might be a woman laning for a man.
Right. Exactly.
Right?
Might be a woman laying for a man.
And that teaches us that a woman can't lane for a man.
So then the difference between an androgynous and a tumtum?
So androgynous, he has both sides. So he looks like a man and
Right,
a lady. But we don't know. We don't know what din we're going to give him. Should we give him a din like a man? Should we give him a din like a lady? Right? It's really, I think there's only two choices. Although the Gemara does say. No, the Gemara does say. You might say that it's a beria, and he's maybe a new creation, and a third choice. but shkayach rabanshel yashakaya, mzaken arabim. Beautiful. Okay, here everyone now has their own copies. Here we go. So here everyone has. But you might say that.
Is it all similar to like a deaf or blind person? Now that person's considered different from the community, so you can't multi other people. Would it be all similar to that?
Well, a deaf or blind person, notice, a deaf or blind person, that is going to be worse. A deaf or blind person, they are lacking knowledge. They are not lacking the mental capacity, so they don't have das. They can't ever read it, because they don't have das. If you don't have das, you're excluded from being motzi anyone. You cannot read the Torah, you cannot read the Megillah, you cannot do anything. You can't blow the shofar, because if you don't have the mental capacity, so then you cannot read it or do any of these things for any of the public. But here what we're dealing with, because in order you have to have mental capacities that your action should be a good action. But if you don't even know what you're doing, you can't have action, and you can't have any das in mind for anyone else I want to be motzi him, I want to help him fulfill his obligation. If you don't have any of the mental capacities yourself, so you can't work to give it over to someone else. But here we're dealing with someone higher. Here we're dealing with an androgynous, a tumtum, a lady. They all have mental capacities. They do have das. But the question here is, it seems that for some reason a lady is one step down, or right that she's not obligated in the mitzvah. Well, we do know that a mitzvah saseisha zman grama, when there's time-bound mitzvahs, ladies are pater. Ladies are not chayiv in time-bound mitzvahs. That's the rule, and we also find that even though that's a Torah rule, and it also the Rabbanan, we usually find them that they fashion the mitzvahs that the Rabbanan make, they fashion it after the Torah. So therefore the Rabbanan also, when they make their mitzvahs, if it's time-bound, ladies are pater. Yes?
So Shabbos candles Friday night, is that fine?
Shabbos candles Friday night is a interesting idea. It's a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, one of the 7 big d'Rabbanans. It seems to be time bound, but that was a special mitzvah that there are certain exclusions. Yeah. So what we're coming out with from this Tosefta is that it seems that ladies, tumtum, androgynous, it seems like a tumtum and androgynous, they actually for some reason, right? So Mr. Afton brought up maybe they're an androgynous is not a man, he's not a lady, he's a third species, but he's not. It's only in certain dinim, but in terms of Mikra Megillah, either he's a man or a lady, right? In din, you can only plug into two choices. So if it says that an androgynous can't read the Megillah for it says anybody but an androgynous, so you see that it's not. We might give him a rule like a lady, right? So you see that a lady's one step lower. So from this Tosefta is a big question. It's a big question. Let's see it inside. Let's start now. We have the papers. We have the Gemara. We just read the Gemara in Megillah. Let's see it on the top. So comes Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi and says that ladies are obligated in Mikra Megillah because they were part of the miracle. And Rashi explains what the miracle was. Sha'af hein hayu b'yis. The ladies took part of the miracle. Why?
Esther.
Sha'af. Oh, so it's Malchus Rashi Taisus. So Mr. After is bringing like Taisus that Esther was the one who saved the Jews. Since she was part of the miracle, the ladies are also obligated in reading the Megillah. So that's Tosfos. So skip down to the fourth line from the top of the page. Tosfos brings the Rashbam, she'ikar hanes haya al yadan. The main miracle was through the ladies. Before Purim Esther, b'Chanukah through Yehudis. She gave milk, and then they killed the general. B'Pesach, shebizchos nashim, tzidkanias, in the merit of our righteous women. Shabbosei hadar, in that generation, we were redeemed. So that's Tosfos' pshat. Afi no yavaisa nes. Rashi says a different pshat. Rashi says that the miracle was part of the ladies were included in the miracle. How were they included? So Rashi says, look up the second line from the top. Rashi sha'af hein hayu b'yis sha'af al noshim gazar haman lahashmid laharog la'abeid minar v'atzokim. The reason is because the ladies, it was decreed on everyone. Taf v'nashim, ladies and children, minar v'atzokim, from young to old. Everyone was obligated in the midst. Everyone was going to be wiped out, and therefore, since the decree was on everyone got saved. So therefore, afhein hayu b'yis, they were all part of the miracle. So this idea called afhein hayu b'yis, interesting idea to know what level, but that's the new obligation which obligates ladies. That's the Gemara.
Why wouldn't children be obligated?
So it's very good. The Rishayim bring down the kasha. The Ran asks the kasha. So children should be obligated. According to Rashi, in Mikra Megillah, the Ran asked the kasha because children were also decreed upon that they were going to be wiped out. So the kids, why is the din? They only have to bring the kids for chinuch. Only if the kid is he's only of the age of training, then you're obligated. Even if he's not the age of training.
Kids are taught from all mitzvahs.
Oh,
Kids
so
are taught from all mitzvahs.
Yeah, it's a das
Because
issue, though.
that's just like you're saying before.
So the Ran says there's such an idea that they only gave the obligation to someone who has the mental capacities, and in other mitzvahs we give them mitzvahs. So in such a level of a child, that's the only level that we would obligate them. But it's a nice question. The Ran speaks on that. Okay. And we also see, I just show you the number 2, the Gemara in Erechim also states the exact words like our Gemara. Hakol chayav memikra Megillah. Hakol ksherin likroises a Megillah. La Tue May. What is it coming to include these words that everyone is kosher to read the Megillah? La Tue May, it's coming to include La Tue Nashim. It's coming to include ladies. Or could Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Nashim chayav Megillah Megillah Shafi Noi B'Yisrael. He quotes our Gemara that therefore ladies are obligated to read the Megillah. Comes along, let's skip now down to number, by the way, so you just look at Rashi on the left side of that Gemara, number 3, says Rashi, Lasuye Nashim, Shechayavais b'Mikra Megillah. Rashi says clear, like the Gemara seems to say. You're obligated in Mikra Megillah, Ksheris L'Kraisa, they could read it, they're kosher to read it, Elohaiti Zacharon, and a lady could even stand up without any tune, she could read the Megillah and help fulfill obligations for everyone, even Zacharim, even a male. Yidei Chavasim, they fulfill their obligation through this. That's what Rashi says. And Rabbeinu Gershom says the same thing. Hakol Chayav Megillah number 4. Hakol Kshem Likrois. Shekol HaMechuyev V'davar Maitzias HaRabim Deichavazan. Anyone who's obligated could help others fulfill their obligation. If you're on that level, you're obligated. A man obligated, right? Let's say a man is obligated to bench, he could help another man. A child, he can only help someone who's on a D'Rabbanan level, but for benching.
So now you have a stira.
So now the question is, and by the way, it's also a Rambam. The Rambam also says, I just want to show you, it's Rashi, Rabbeinu Gershon. The Rambam writes, number 5, Kriyas Megillah Bizman Mitzvah Sasei. It's a mitzvah to read the Megillah. Mitzvah Sasei B'divrei Seifrim from the Rabbanon. Badvarim Yeduim, and it's known, this idea, Shehi Takonas HaNaviim. It's already from the Nevi'im, the prophets instituted this idea. V'akol Chayavim B'kriyasa. Everyone is obligated to read it. Anoshim V'noshim V'geirim V'avadim. So the Rambam puts everyone in straight. Anoshim, Noshim. He didn't make any difference. And therefore the Maggid Mishnah brings down right underneath that he seems to be going like the simple Gemara. Ladies are obligated, like the Gemara says. The problem is this Tosefta. The Tosefta states that if you see the androgynous and the tumtum, they're not able to help others fulfill their obligation. So that comes Taisus number 7, and Taisus brings the Gemara. He says, "V'kan mashma." From here it seems, from this Gemara, it seems very clear, "Shanoshim moitzias asacherim," that the ladies could help other people fulfill their obligation. The lady could be the Baal Koreh. What does the Gemara say? The Gemara said very clearly, look on the top, Nashim Chayavis b'mikra Megillah, top line. You're obligated to read the Megillah. Right? The Gemara in Erechim, same thing, Mikra Megillah, Likrois Megillah. It doesn't say Hakol Chayavis l'shmoya. It didn't say you're obligated to hear the Megillah. It said they're obligated to read the Megillah. V'achinami mashma b'Erechim. He quotes the Mishnah in Erechim that we saw. The Kamar Kol Ksherim Likrois is the Megillah. That says that everyone's obligated to read the Megillah. The Gemara in Erechim says, what is Hakol coming to include? It's coming, Umeshani, the Gemara answers, Lasuye Noshim, that is including ladies. Mashma Lahitzi Afilu Anoshim. So Tosfos brings down like Rashi, Rabbeinu Gershon, the Rambam, that ladies could even read it for men. Bekasha, on this Tosfos jumps and he asks on this implication. Bekasha, the Habit Tosefta Tadi Behedya. But in the Tosefta it states clearly, the androgynous, Moitzias Binoi, that an androgynous can only read for binai, for a fellow androgynous. That means, because why? That means androgynous, we're going to give him a special din, whatever we would give him. We'll give him a din like a man, or a din like a lady, but we don't know. So since we're not sure, he cannot read for a man, because we might give him a rule like a lady. So if he has a din like a lady, it seems that that's why he can't read for a man. Because a lady can't help a man fulfill their obligation, because it's two different levels. A lady is one step lower. It's
not the case, and an androgynous couldn't use another androgynous, unless it's more of a man.
No, but androgynous, whatever androgynous is, we're going to rule androgynous is this. So if we rule him as a man, we'll say he could help everyone fulfill his obligation, if we would know. And if we would know that we're going to call an androgynous, he's going to have a rule like a lady, then she could help a fellow androgynous, because all androgynous will be equal. They'll all have one ruling set. Same status.
Unlike the tumtum.
Right. But a tumtum, we don't know what he is. We don't know if it's a he or a she.
That's what they
So since we don't know what it is, therefore tumtum can't read for another tumtum, because this tumtum might be a man, and the one who's reading might be a lady. So that tumtum can't read it for the man, because you see here there are two levels between a man and a lady. So therefore Tosfos asks from here that you see that a lady is one level lower than a man. She's not obligated. Not obligated in reading the Megillah. That's what it seems from this Tosefta.
What is the authority of the Tosefta? Where does the Tosefta fit in with Mishnah, Gemara, etc.?
Very interesting. This because we have here clear. Well, it seems that these are prices. Notice what we started with on the top was the Gemara and Megillah. Right? It's not a Mishnah. Gemara and Megillah. The Gemara in Erechim is Hakol Chayavim. It's also a Brisa. So it's not a Mishnah, which is how I guess the Tosefta. What was the Tosefta made? It was made to explain and come to put a little more explanation of the Mishnayos. It was a Brisa which came to explain Mishnayos. So it also has the same authority of a Brisa.
Which is under a Mishnah.
Yeah, which is under a Mishnah, but we're not dealing with a Mishnah. Therefore, Tosfos felt he could ask from that. By the way, in case Androgynous got, it seems that Tosfos, is that clear, the question from Androgynous and Tumtum? You see pretty clear, right? You see clear from the Androgynous and Tumtum that they're not obligated. It's interesting, our Girsa, our Tosefta, seems to even bring down that Nashim are Pater. Because if you look at the bottom line of the Tosefta, number 6, it does say clearly, Nashim, V'avadim, V'ktanim, Peturim. They are Pater from reading Megillah, and they cannot help anyone fulfill the obligation. Tosfos didn't seem to have this part of Tosefta, so Tosfos had to ask only from Androgynous. By the way, he can also ask from Tumtum. Either one. Mashal says it could be also Tumtum. Either one is a proof. The fact that Androgynous can't read for a man is a proof we don't consider him on the status of a man. There must be a one status lower. And a Tumtum can't read for anyone. That means we for sure are scared that maybe we consider that is a lady, and that person can't read for a man. And the third proof is from Nashim V'avadim, the last line in the Tosefta, which Tosfos didn't bring, but that's another question. So because of these questions, the Tosfos wants to argue and come out with a new ruling, which is going to affect the whole Jewry today. So he says like this, look at this in number 7. It says the answer is, right, he's reading here, he brings down the Kasha. Let's do 3 lines from the top of number 7. The Kasha in the middle line. We learned clearly that an androgynous can only be mitzi, he can only fulfill the obligation, he can only help that one who's mina, a fellow androgynous. He cannot help someone who's not an androgynous. He can't help a man. So a lady is no better than an androgynous. An androgynous is a question. Is it a man or a lady? But at the very least, it's a lady. So why can androgynous read the Megillah for anyone else? So you see from here, for the fact that androgynous can't read for anyone else, tells us that a lady can't read for a man. V'chein pasku ha-behag. The behag, the Baal halachas gedolos, he also ruled this way. The isha maitzia mina. A lady could read the Megillah for a fellow lady. Avaloi anashim. But she cannot fulfill the obligation for men. A lady cannot be the Balkori, she cannot read it for a man's reading. V'yesh loymar. And therefore he's saying, so what's the Gemara saying? So he's saying, we have a Gemara that says that ladies are chayiv. What does it mean they're obligated? What are they obligated in the Megillah? So he says, yesh loymar desaka daitach. The Gemara is coming to teach us, because I would have thought, v'layayol kriyasan, I would have thought that a lady can't even read for a fellow lady. Kamash Malan, our Gemara is coming to teach us that Hakol Chayavim, everyone's chayiv to read. Who? Even ladies, which means they could read for a fellow lady.
Why can't Kol be Marbeh? The fact that they have an obligation on themselves to read the Megillah.
Yeah, but it says Hakol Chayavim B'Kri B'Mikra Megillah.
Okay. Oh, I see.
Very interesting. Taisus has to wheedle out of this. We get to walk between the thin line there.
Why does the Gemara say Shmiya?
That was Taisus' kasha. It's a good kasha. So the chiddush is that they could even read it. You would have thought maybe they can't even read it. You would have thought that they're only a shomeya. They're only a listener. So if you're only a listener, they only have the ears. They don't have the mouth to do it. So if they don't have the mouth to do it, so maybe they can't even come and read it for a fellow lady. They're only on the level of listening. So even if they come to a lady's laning, they still can't be the mikra, they can't be the reader. Maybe they're only the listeners. So that comes our Gemara in Megillah and in Erechin to say, no, they're even obligated to read the Megillah. They have the capabilities to be a reader for ladies. For ladies, yeah. They could lane for fellow ladies.
Who would teach the lane?
You'll have to either get a good Balkore to make a tape for them, or there are different things that we could arrange to get them to learn how to lane. But that's what our Gemara is coming to say. That they're obligated, Hakol Chayav and Mikra Megillah, but it's going to depend, it's going to vary the levels of obligation.
So you can tell them are obligated to hear. Last verse.
Of what? Of the,
Kol Chayim Mishmiya.
Okay, well, we're going to have to wait for Katanim for this year. We're going to go in for ladies for this one. So it comes out that there's a split level, there's a bi-level. In the Mishnah, it says everyone's obligated to read, and the Chiddush is that you're obligated to read, and you have a mitzvah, you're able to read. A man could read for everyone. And a lady, she could even read for a fellow lady. You would have thought maybe she's not even in the parsha, she's not even able to read. Maybe she's only the one who listens. So that would come and say, no, she could even, there's the levels.
So what is
there's one level the reader, and there's one level the hearer. But once you reach that level of a hearer, you could read for those hearers. It's two levels, the reader's level and the listener's level, but a lady who's on the listener's level could read for another lady who's on that level. It's two levels, yes.
What does the Rambam and the Rashi etc. do with the androgynous tumtum problem?
You always ask these questions.
Well, it's a logical question.
Okay, but they're coming from our Gemara. It could be, like the client is saying, right? They're reading our Gemara like the simplest sense. The simple sense of the words is, ladies are chayiv b'mikra megillah, right? Tosfos is splitting it into two levels, this level, that level, higher level, lower level. So it could be maybe he held that the Tosefta seems to be in contradiction with our Bavli, right? The Bavli, our Gemara. Yeah, could be that they held that Rambam, Rashi. Well, Rashi himself is not a question. The truth is, yeah, Rashi is learning up clearly. Yeah, I was going to say he's just explaining the Gemara, but he's not explaining the Gemara.
Unless somehow they're separating androgynous and tumtum as something, that we can't learn out from. They're just too.
We'll have to think about it. Yeah. Yes, sure.
Both male and female children.
Sure. Yes, she could lay. Interesting question. But the chiyuv of kids, without Mr. Apter's question here from the Tosfos here, but the Mishnah Brura rules that the kids are only obligated to hear.
It's actually Joseph's
question.
Well, he highlighted because he said before they were in Oso Hanes. So why aren't they chayav? And Tosfos is saying here they are.
It's a good question. It's a good question. This Tosfos, but the Mishnah Brura breaks down that kids are only obligated to come as chinuch. Chinuch, just to train them in, regulate them to hear the Megillah.
It's not much more from that. Tosfos says it's
not much from Tosfos.
It doesn't say chinuch.
It's very good. We'll have to go into that. It's a good question. But you see the Tosefta on the other hand, the bottom line, Tosefta number 6. He said that children are patur. So it's a big issue. We're going to have to go into this. But the Mishnah Brura rules that they're only obligated from the Rabbanan of chinuch to regulate them into mitzvahs when they reach the age of knowing what the Purim story is, 6 or 7. Okay, so that's what Tosfos says, and Tosfos finishes off and says that's how you read the Gemara, and he says that they could even read for another lady, and look at the last lines of Tosfos. Tosfos says that they are obligated to read for fellow ladies, and everyone is obligated in listening to the Megillah. Avadim, Nashim, Vektanim. Says the Tosfos, and this is how you read the words. He seems to be putting the Gemara that everyone's chayiv to listen to the Megillah. That's how he's going to learn that everyone, although there is a bi-level, I'm not sure, could be two ways how you could read the Gemara. Is he putting that back into the Gemara? The Gemara says Mikros. I'm explaining they're obligated to read it. That's the Chiddush. That's the Chiddush of the Gemara. But everyone in the end of the day comes out to be obligated to hear the Megillah. The question is, where did you get this bi-level from? Who made up these two levels? It says in the Gemara you have to read the Megillah, right? Who told the Tosefta to say that there's two levels? There's one level of hearers, the listeners, and there's one level of the ones who read it. The men are chayav higher and the ladies are chayav lower. So there's a Tue May. The Tue May, by the way, it's going to have an impact on halacha, because based on this, look on number 9, the Shulchan Aruch brings down both views. Number 8, he says, Hakol Chayavim b'Mekriya. The Shulchan Aruch reads, Shulchan Aruch was written by Rabbi Yosef Karo. He was the head of the Svardim. He writes, everyone's obligated in Kriyas Megillah. Anashim v'nashim v'gerim, men and ladies. So before we see to number 8, he says that everyone's chayav, even ladies. Then, number 9, in Sif Beis, Rabbi Yosef Karo brought Yeshoimrim. There are those who argue and say no. Hanashim Einam Motzia says Ha'anashim, that the ladies cannot help the men do their mitzvah. He's bringing down the view of the Tosfos and the Bahar. So he brings two views. What do you do when you have two views in the Shulchan Aruch? Which one would you paskin like? No. What do you do? Go with the simple stam view, the first view of the Shulchan Aruch. Ladies are obligated in Mikra Megillah, according to the Svardim. Comes along the Ramah. The Ramah rides on the back of this Yesh Armim and he says, "Agav Yesh Armim and Ma'isha Kara La'atzma." And if a lady reads it for herself, Mivaracha, she makes a bracha, Lishmoya Megillah. She makes a bracha. I'm going to listen to the Megillah. That's the bracha. Very big issue when the ladies have a ladies reading. What bracha they're going to make? So they're going to have to make Lishmaya Megillah. Mishnah Berurah rules like
Even
this.
if she's letting herself.
Even if she's lating, she'ena chayaves b'kriya. She's not obligated in lating, and therefore even if she's reading herself, and she's going to read it, she's going to be koreh, but she's only making a bracha Lishmaya Mikra Megillah. So last night by luck, they had someone who, a man who didn't hear the Megillah, so he came to the ladies lating and he made a bracha al Mikra Megillah. But if not for that, I spoke to Balkori before. He said, "Oh, that's a good question. I have to see what we're going to do." And I said, "The halacha is they do Lishma Mikra Megillah." You know, the lady, so one lady will stand up, she'll make a bracha Lishmoa Megillah. So that's the halacha. It seems to be an argument. Sfardim Ashkenazim. You have to check out what the Sfardim do. L'chayra, they would make a bracha al Mikra Megillah, because the Sfardim seem to be going like the Rambam, right? Like the Rambam and the Rashi, the Ben Gershom. So where does these two levels come from? So there's interesting Tue May. Look at number 10. Tue May wants to say that there seems to be, where did the obligation come for ladies to read the Megillah? Who told the ladies that they're ever obligated? It's a mitzvah seishos man grama. Ladies are patur from Mikra Megillah. So where does this rule come from? Like, is this a Torah rule or is this a D'Rabbanan rule? That since the ladies were part of the miracle, therefore we include them in the obligation, right? By to drink the 4 cups of wine, they were part of the miracle, so they drink the 4 cups. Who made up this din? Is it a Torah level rule or a D'Rabbanan rule?
All of these are only applicable to
Usually. Hanukkah and Dalet Kosos, you're right also, by the way. Even though
so why not say that it's Hanukkah?
the truth is, you're right. But the Tue May wants to say that Esther, she sent to the Chachamim, she says, I want to make, this should be one of the Nevi'im. This should be Ksuvim. I want to put the Megillah Esther should be a real part of our holy scriptures. And the Chachamim said, no, we don't think so. And they got, all of a sudden they got Ruach HaKodesh, they got the divine spirit. Said, yes, we're putting this into the Megillah. This will be part of the scriptures. So the Tue May says that it makes it a deraisa. Tue May says that means at the level of the Torah level. And therefore he wants to say that the mitzvah of Mikra Megillah is a Torah level obligation. Unbelievable chiddush that he said. It's in bold print there, the words Min HaTorah, by the way. So it's in bold print. But they want to say, so it comes out the big obligation of Mikra Megillah, reading the Megillah. That's from the Torah, Hashem gave with divine spirit. That's for all people who are obligated in time-bound mitzvahs. Because it's a time-bound mitzvah. 14th day of Adar, you read it. Who is obligated in time-bound mitzvahs? Only men. So it came down from divine prophecy only for men to read the Megillah. The Chachamim came along later, and they brought down this rule called Afhein Hayu B'Sodais. Also, the ladies were included in the miracle. So the Chachamim said, we're going to also put the ladies in to the obligation of Mikra Megillah. And therefore they said, we're now instituting that ladies also have to hear the Megillah. This was a 2-step process. Seems 2 obligations, one from the Torah, one from the Rabbanah. That's the Tue May. That's what he wants to say. If you want, I'll read it inside.
We never say that the status of Nevi'im is derisive. That's a very unique.
Included in the 613 mitzvahs.
That's a very interesting question. Would he put this in? Look at his words. I'll read you his words because it's such a big chiddush. Tue May, I think, was the Shagas Aryeh, if I'm not mistaken. So that's who the author is. So he says over here, let's start from the 3rd line on number 10, towards the end of the line by the 3 dots. It seems to me of course, the ladies are obligated in reading it ka'anoshim, like men. May high timer from this reason of sha'af hein hayu b'sanes, because they were part of the miracle. Because what's the difference? Why should they be pater from laning? But still, they cannot help but the men do their obligation. The time of the mill, so the reason is, narrowly, it seems to me, that's the reason, because they were part of the miracle. Torah, but that's not min Torah. Min Torah loy mahani l'chayv l'ashul. That rule, is not enough to obligate you min Torah. It's a derabbanan dika rule. The kivan shekain, and since it's so yesh lema, you could say kivan to Esther, Namra, l'kulei alma beruach hakodesh. It was said to the Chachamim that we should read Esther with ruach hakodesh. It should be part of our scriptures. Vadai kein shel Torah Namra. So it must be as an obligation of a Torah.
Over here, there's a box.
Kivan the kel echad amra. Okay. Kivan, it brings a proof. The kel echad amran. Kel echad. There's one God who said all of these scriptures. Vipi adin kol ha'maisim baruch hu. It all comes from Hashem. Yeshua, Shoftim, Esther, Ala Noshim Namra. The original obligation that was said with Ruach HaKodesh, that was to men. That wasn't said to ladies. Later on, they said, oh, they're part of the miracle. We'll also include the ladies in on a derabbanan level. So he says, since it's a lower level, they can't read it for others. Now, it just explains that there's two levels, yes.
But why I'm bothered by this is he doesn't want to discuss the fact that the Chachamim had a machloket over this, whether we want to call this Baltosif or not. The
Chachamim didn't want to include this in the scriptures at all.
I know.
But Ruach HaKodesh came down and said, yes, it's part of scriptures, and then it was sealed. When Ruach HaKodesh came down, there was no more argument.
But you don't see that in the Gemara, do you? Where do you see that?
This idea of Esther, I think it's in the Gemara.
The Ruach HaKodesh. Who brings that down to say?
I think the Gemara Megillah. I think Joel, we have to check up. I think the Gemara Megillah brings this down, but it's authoritative, that idea. But the chiddush is that he's saying is that became a Torah level. That's the chiddush that the Shagas Aryeh is saying.
Yeah.
Now the question is, where did you get the? Now we know where there's two levels. One is a Torah level and one is the Rabbanan level. But why is it a different obligation? Why is one to listen? He doesn't explain that. Why is one to read and one is to listen? Why didn't the Rabbanan make it like the Torah? They should have said, well, we always fashion our decrees after the Torah. The Torah said you're obligated to read it. Why didn't the Rabbanan say, okay, ladies are obligated also to read it? Why did the Rabbanan make it's true, they made a new mitzvah, a lower level mitzvah, but why didn't they fashion it after the Raisa to say they're obligated to read? Why did they say you only have to hear? So that, on the bottom I brought the Marcheshas. The Marcheshas, he's famous for this Masechta. So he wants to say that there's two ideas that are brought down in the Megillah. We saw one mitzvah of mitzvah Megillah. Why do we read Megillah? We spoke out, right? Even if someone doesn't know one word of Hebrew, he should still read the Megillah. Why? Pesumei Nisa. Because you're supposed to spread, publicize the miracle, and even if you don't understand anything, you'll tap your friend on the shoulder and you'll find out what the miracle was about. That's one idea. Then he says there's another idea in the Megillah, and that is Haman. Haman comes from Amalek. This time of year we're doing the mitzvah of Mechias Amalek, wiping out Amalek. Number two, Zechiras Amechias Amalek. To mention it, right? Yesterday we read Parshas Zachor. Parshas Zachor, we mentioned the wiping out of Amalek. Now, who is obligated to wipe out Amalek? Men. Says the Chinuch. Men. The Chinuch came along. He was the Rishon. He said men. Why? Why only men? Why are ladies obligated to wipe out? Right? It's not a time-bound mitzvah. You can wipe out an Amaleki if you find them any time. Right? They had a story the other time. Different stories of the Amalek. So why can't
Yael did a better job, though.
What?
Yael did a better job.
But right, it could be anyone. So why are ladies not obligated in wiping out Amalek? Because they're not b'nois b'cham. Excellent, Mike. Because they're not the ones who go to war. So the Chinuch came out with that svara, that logic, and said, well, women don't go to war. So when the Torah wrote that you have to do war, it wasn't referring to ladies. Beautiful logic. Says the Chinuch, okay, if they're not obligated in that mitzvah of waging war, of Mechias Amalek, wiping out Amalek, they're also not obligated in Parshas Zachor to mention and to specify the idea of remembering Amalek, because the only one who has to remember it is the one who has to follow it out and carry it out. So the Chinuch says, the famous Chinuch, that says the ladies don't have to read read Parshas Zachor. It's a big machlokus. We have to go into that at a different share. But that's what the chinuch says. Ladies aren't obligated to wipe out Amalek or to mention the wiping out of Amalek. And Haman comes from Amalek. Haman Agagi, he came from Agag, who was from Amalek. So this idea comes in the time of mentioning the idea of wiping out Amalek. So he says the Marcheshes, that ladies, they don't have that aspect of the Megillah of mentioning the idea of wiping out Amalek. They don't have to read Parshas Zachor, and they don't have to read the idea of Haman wiping out, trying to wipe out the Jews, and we're going to wipe him out. The ladies don't have that aspect of the Megillah. They only have the other aspect of the Megillah of Tue May to publicize the miracle. So on that, he says an idea that you could split the Megillah into two aspects of the obligation. One is you have to read it. A lower level is you just have to hear it. If you have to read it, that's because you want to zechira, zachar. You want to mention the wiping out of Amalek. You want to mention it. You have to say it, right? Parshas Zachor, you got to say it. If you heard it, that's like you said it. But you got to say it. You got to read it. So therefore, we read the Megillah. The men have an obligation to read it, and we also have Tue May in the process that someone will hear, they'll publicize the miracle. But the ladies don't have the first part of the mitzvah of wiping out Amalek or speaking about wiping out Amalek. So therefore the ladies don't have to read the Megillah. They just have to be Tue May. They have to be present. And when they're present, then they hear the Balkori reading it and making these incantations and people clapping and everything. So then they'll ask their friends, what's he talking about? They'll hear about the Ness. The Ness will be publicized. So therefore, the idea is that the Rabbanan, when they came along and put along lower level obligation, they made it l'shmoa, to hear the Megillah, because they don't have to wipe out Amalek. They don't have to speak about wiping out Amalek. They just have to be there to publicize the miracle. On that, it's enough to just listen. You don't have to actually read it, and therefore that's how the Mishnah Berurah paskins for Ashkenazim. We just read it l'shmoa Megillah. What we have to do is hear it. We're publicizing the miracle you're around.
According to the Mishnah Berurah, can a woman length?
Yes. Right, that's the chiddush of the Gemara. Tosfos says that a lady could lay in the Megillah for another lady because she's on the same level.
Yeah, but you said they only have a mitzvah of Shmiya, not
That's
Kriya.
right. But that translates. It translates into a lower level. But doesn't right? You're saying the Havamina of Tosfos. The Havamina of the Gemara came for you. The Gemara came to say, don't think since they're obligated in listening that they only listen. They also have it translates into a lower level obligation of a hearer, of a listener. But on that level, a lady could read it for someone who's on that level. She has the mouthpiece to read it for such a level. That the chiddush of Tosfos, what you're speaking out is exactly the chiddush. Why Tosfos came to say that they're obligated on a lower level of a listener, and therefore they could read it for themselves to listen. And there, Yotze was there.